Hello guys, welcome to another video. I hope you enjoyed the previous one, which was about becoming a UX designer coming from a graphic design background. Today, I'm going to talk to you about how to take the leap of faith from UX design to product design. There might be a confusion between the two and what one does versus the other. We have done a video in the past between the differences of UX and product design. We can share a link in the description down below. But today I'm going to focus on how to become a product designer coming from a UX design background. Now, this should be an easy transition because as a UX designer, I guarantee you that you have done a lot of things that would be a product designer's job as well, except you're adding more attributes into it. So as a UX designer, you would have worked with a product designer or be part of a product design team or be part of a product team. So you would have worked with that sort of environment, ideally. If not, I can let you know that most of the time, UX designers would easily transition into becoming a product designer just because you have most of the core needs that's available to you and you already have that with you. You just need to define it further now. So there's a lot of overlap between a skill of a product designer and a UX designer. Part of the confusion is because there are different scales of businesses that employs both product designer and UX designer. So sometimes it's one person that does everything. So in a small business, let's say they've hired you as a UI or a UX designer, but you're actually doing product design responsibilities as well. For example, understanding a roadmap, phases of a technical development or product launch, understanding what the MVP is versus phase 1, 2, 3, and so on and so forth. So all of those are actually closely related to you becoming a product designer. And so those overlaps are things that just comes natural in the process. It's just not defined yet. So let's get into it. I'm going to use my iPad today and do a whiteboard session with you to go through the difference between the two. So guys, I'm talking specifically about companies that have both roles. So we're talking about a company that is big enough or mature enough in its process, in its product process, where they will have a product designer as well as a UX designer. Let's start with UX designers. So UX designers, in this case, tend to focus on user experience, so the end user experience. So they're creating the best end user experience, and it's exclusively on that. So if we talk about product designer in this environment, they tend to have responsibilities and similar responsibilities to UX. So I'll just say it's UX, but also plus other things like some of the ones that I've mentioned earlier, which is roadmaps, also understanding functionality. The other bit that often comes with product designer's responsibility is also a general sense of the market value of the product. Sense of market value. So as you can already see, product designers have a bigger perspective in the product itself as opposed to exclusively on UI or UX design. The other thing is that UX designers tend to ask, how do I design a product that users love? A product that users love. That's like ultimately the question that UX designers ask themselves all the time when they're designing a product. And if we go into product designers, they go, how do I design products that is feasible, or products that are feasible, and just to make the short, and viable for the business. So in the context of things, product designers tend to look at the business side of the product as well, along with its marketing plans and how to launch and so on and so forth. UX designers tend to look at exclusively on the experience side of the product only, or the end user experience side of the product only. UX designers obviously do things like storyboard, prototype, testing, to name a few. And product designers do the same thing, same as UX. But oftentimes they're also involved with things that are more marketing, so maybe branding, or at least have opinions around branding, messaging, marketing, sales process even, and to support that. Not to be responsible for all of those aspects, but they have more of a say and be more involved in that sort of discussion. And that's what oftentimes product designers do, is that they have more scope when it comes to understanding the product as an overarching thing. Another thing that I can think of is a UX designer is not involved, is potentially not so much involved, not as much. Now I know some UX designers are going to come and be angry at me about this, but in general, most UX designers are not as much involved in the end-to-end process. When I say end-to-end, it's not just the design process, it's the whole business process. End-to-end process. So, whereas a product designer, they're more involved because they work closely with other departments. As I was saying earlier, there's sales, there's marketing, and so on and so forth. So when it comes to the end-to-end process of a product lifecycle, product designers tend to be way more involved than a UX designer. So involved more across the end-to-end process of a life cycle. So generally speaking, a UX designer could do multiple products, multiple different projects. You have a bigger range of projects that you can work on at any given time, because you're more specific to the type of craft that you do. Whereas a product designer oftentimes are actually very specific to one product only. So you might find a product designer who works for, I'm just gonna say Uber as an example. They have an Uber drivers app, and you'll find a product designer that works exclusively for Uber driver app only, not everything else. So you might be asking yourself, should I make the switch from UX design to product design? It really depends on your interest, really, strengths and career dreams. There's no right or wrong answer in all of this. If you want to work with more people, gain more business and marketing understanding, and want to work more on potentially bigger scope of projects, you should try product designing. That could open up those opportunities for you. If you love the UX design aspect and you don't really want to dive into marketing or other business parts, then really I think you should stick with what you're currently doing. In terms of income, you can still earn a really decent amount as a lead UX designer or a design manager or a design director. But if you're looking into going into a management role, a leadership role, something that is more close to sales, marketing, people, and the things that I've mentioned earlier, basically the end-to-end process that I was explaining, then product design is a better pathway for you rather than staying as a UX designer, because it opens up those type of conversations in your role and the opportunities for you to meet other people and leaderships in the business or the organization that you work with. Ask around in your company as well whether there's career progression as a UX designer into product designer, because some companies simply don't need product designers and UX designers are all they need. So see what's happening within the business itself internally, and if there is, then see which one you gravitate towards. Okay, now that we've got that covered, let's talk about how do you switch from UX design to product design if that's what you want to do. So let's get into my whiteboard here. So how to switch. To switch from UX into product. One of the things that you could do at first is just ask around in your company and see if there's opportunities for you to become a product designer. So if there is, then it always helps for you to talk to those product designers within the business and understand the roles and their responsibilities. What is it that's expected out of them? So ask around and understand the role. The next thing that you could do is try and understand the gap or the overlap between UX and product design within your organization, because it can be quite different from one to another. So understand the overlap or the gap. And once you've identified that, then you can expand your skill set to support the gap that you need to fill in. So expand your skill. There are many ways on how to do this. You could obviously watch videos, do some research, but one of the things that could effectively get you there is to take a course, whether it's a short course or an extended one. It's really up to you, but look at courses that are available to support you with that. So take courses. And I've always said this, but it always helps when you find someone who's done it before. So seek for a mentor, talk to someone who can guide you through the process. So it will help you hack through the system and get you there faster as well. So find a mentor or network. And when we talk about networking, of course, you can always do that by attending events. So network in events is another thing. Portfolio is always the key. So build your portfolio to support that proposition. So portfolio. And the last but not least is to always put your hand up when there's an opportunity or when you see the potential for you to jump in and do a little bit of product design exercise within your UX design project. Then feel free to do that. Put your hand up and say, I want to try this thing. It won't take me too much time, but if we add into this, it will help our process. So make yourself known in that sort of way. Put your hand up and contribute. Put your hand up and contribute with a product designer's mindset. Okay, so hopefully by doing all of those, that will help you take the leap from UX design to product design, and hopefully through this video as well, you understand more about the differences between the two and how to really decide for yourself in terms of understanding what's best for you. Again, it doesn't mean that product design is better than UX design for you. It's really understanding who you are, what you want to do, where you want to go, and then hopefully you can identify that for yourself. Don't forget to subscribe to our videos. I hope you enjoy us coming back into YouTube and providing all of these content for you. I know it's been helpful for a lot of people, and so that makes me happy. Anyway, have a good one, and I'll see you in the next video.